Welcome to the Great Shrimp Shoal. Today we'll be re-examining all the shrimp that I currently have in the shoal. You'll get to know each species and variation, and we'll also visit some who have departed. Please remember to like and subscribe because, like the plants in my tanks, I've got to grow. Welcome to the show. First off, we have the very beginning of my foray into shrimp keeping, the Neocaridina dividi, or cherry shrimp. This red variety was the first that I added to my 3-gallon tank, and they are the most common in retail fish stores. Their color goes from a light and almost transparent red and a pink to completely opaque with deep dark hues. For breeders, the darker opaque colors are the more desirable ones, so those are often the more expensive varieties. Neocaridina are typically 1.5 inches long when fully grown. These beautiful freshwater crustaceans are native to the lakes and rivers in Taiwan, where they live for about 2 years. They survive by combing the surface of every underwater feature looking for biofilm, algae, and other plant matter. In a pinch, they will eat other, weak, or dead crustaceans, but that is unlikely when sufficient food is available. These shrimp are amazing swimmers, and I have seen them recover from full force flow from a filter blowing them back across the tank. When they recover, they use their tails and body like a torpedo and can direct themselves with an efficient grace that is not unlike a bird in stormy winds. The more and more I see similarities between shrimp and the avian world, I am amazed. With all the varieties of shrimp that I keep cleaning, caring for their young, and eating, they do it just like birds do. The females have a spot on their back that typically has a different coloration or opacity, where inside their carapace the reproductive organs sit. You can see it here on this shrimp in the middle. It is here that the eggs are produced before they are deposited to rest between the pleopods or swimmerets. I have become somewhat better at spotting the female shrimp, even when they are not carrying eggs, because of that telltale shape of the saddle which shows up when light passes through the carapace. Baby Neocaridina shrimp hatch from the eggs directly into the environment and look like tiny sand-sized versions of the adults. They will quickly molt in rapid succession as they grow up, discarding their carapace over and over again. And as they reach the adult size and get older in age, the molting process slows down and happens less frequently. It is here that disease and age take their toll as the carapace slowly degrades in the older shrimp. I love the Neocaridina shrimp. They offer a lot of variety and they are easy to keep for the most part. I have had some trouble keeping them alive in new tanks or acclimating them to the new environments, but successive generations of shrimp born into captivity in the same tank do end up having a very high survival rate. Moving on to the ghost shrimp. Glass shrimp, feeder shrimp, grass shrimp, and ghost shrimp, all names and varieties of paleomantes that for the most part are indistinguishable in the aquarium trade. They look alike and have varying sizes, but for the most part grow to a maximum of 2 inches long and are transparent with black, white, or dark brown markings. I have seen some of them that also have a red or iridescent spot somewhere on their antenna or elsewhere on their body. These omnivores are always on the lookout for food and a bit more active swimmers than the Neocaridina. They like the same water temperature and mineral content as the Neocaridinas though, at least for the most part. It is easy to breed ghost shrimp in freshwater setups, but doing so requires that moving them from one type of tank water to another and then back again, as this variety of dwarf shrimp lives in the intertidal zone of rivers. The young fry can be born as tiny versions of the adults or sometimes as larvae that need to feed and molt before turning into shrimp proper. The ghost shrimp is an active forager and feeder, and for this reason, it is a fun addition to most any freshwater tank. The body of the ghost shrimp is shaped similarly to other dwarf shrimp from the head to about the last pair of real legs. And from the legs down, the tail that they have has a hump like a humpback whale that gives their overall shape a unique and striking look. They also have longer front arms compared to other freshwater shrimps relative to their size. I have had a number of ghost shrimp now, and sometimes they are able to make the switch from breeding tanks to my home setup relatively easily. But considering the cost and how common this species is, I do believe that they are often mistreated and tossed around early in their life. I have found individuals in stores missing limbs and eyes that don't look like they would live out the rest of their life in any sort of comfort. These shrimp didn't get the nickname feeder shrimp without good reason. Shrimp of all sizes are attractive as food options for certain fish, though, so keep that in mind when keeping the ghost shrimp. Unless that is you're using them specifically for feeding, in which case they are great for raising up a number of harder to rear baby fish. All that being said, these shrimp are far from helpless. I have seen them snacking on weak or dying shrimp, dead shrimp or dead fish. There are videos of them feeding on baby fish of many different smaller species, and I personally have seen my ghost shrimp devouring shrimp that are still alive. And in that case, the ghost shrimp started with the antenna and moved on to the legs before leaving the shrimp to die. So yeah, not without their dark side. These are kind of like the vultures of the shrimp world. Bamboo shrimp are probably the craziest looking and the most unique shrimp that I have at the moment. Also known as the wood shrimp, Atiopsis comes in blue, red, and brown and green variations, with other members of this family of the shrimp having stark white lines and other markings. All of these colors are a little bit muted though, because these shrimp like to blend in with their surroundings. Atiopsis can grow to about 3 inches long in their full adult size, and they are native to India. They go by other names as well, including filter feeding shrimp, fan shrimp, Asian filter shrimp, flower shrimp, Singapore flower shrimp, Singapore wood shrimp, and then just simply the wood shrimp, although I know them mostly as bamboo shrimp, in the aquarium trade at least. I got these shrimp with the introduction of my 30-gallon tank, and introduced them when the tank had cycled for almost a month. I had some idea of how to feed them, so I knew that they needed stuff floating around in the water. I say stuff because really these filter feeders would probably enjoy being in a muggy tank better and getting first dibs on the stuff that my filter actually removes from the water. It is for that reason that I don't clean the filter too often. I actually let the filter slow down and form a biological mass as opposed to using it purely for particle filtration and cleaning it every opportunity that I get. This gives the bamboo shrimp something to feed on and gives the substrate something to get covered in at least. My bamboo shrimp have been pretty opportunistic feeders, at least as far as a bamboo shrimp is concerned. They climb to the tallest points in the tank and open their fans into the return off of the filters. I really hope that their efforts are paying off because I would hate to be starving them this entire time. It is said that they will scrounge in the substrate when food is scarce, which I actually have seen them doing, so perhaps I should look into feeding them better. I have described these shrimps as the bulldozers of my tanks, and that is with good reason. As they move around, they are careful when their fans are out, sometimes jumping at the slightest bump. However, when they do need to crawl through the plants, roots, and near the rocks, they pull their fans in and turn into one of the most well-armored freshwater shrimps. They are very streamlined, and their compact form means that they can push aside plants and lumber around without damaging their arms or antenna. It is strange to see them careful one moment and then the next moment see them barreling through the plants carelessly. Breeding bamboo shrimp is one of the more difficult ones because the eggs hatch into larvae which need brackish water. Then they need to molt, and once they reach the real shrimp stage, they need to get back into fresh water within a few days or they'll die. To do this effectively, someone would need to be having 2 tanks, at least potentially completely dedicated to bamboo shrimp. I may try this in the future because to me the bamboo shrimp is a very noble and beautiful variety, but it is not my favorite. That is reserved for one of the variations of the Neocaridina, which will surprise you. The green jade cherry shrimp are a variety of Neocaridina davidi that are my current favorite. They range in color from a light yellow-green to a deep, stark bluish-green. I've had individuals which are nearly black in color, and it is really something to behold. These cherry shrimp have different colored eggs, and it is a lot harder to spot the growth of the eyes, which is a telltale sign that the shrimplets are about to hatch. When they do come out, they can appear nearly transparent, but they diffuse a lot of light, so they do pop out when lit up. These beautiful shrimp are not any more difficult to take care of, but like other Neocaridina and other shrimp, they make a tasty treat for larger fish. And when you're the size of a grain of sand or a piece of rice in an aquarium, just about anything will try and eat you. So keep that in mind when keeping them with other fish. I have lost lots of babies to the neon tetra, so I have separated them in the future versions of the tanks that I've kept. The green jade cherry shrimp will really pop out against a white background, so the next tank that I make will probably be a place specifically made for them. That's right, I'm giving you a clue as to what my next big project is. I think on a light background with sparse plants and a very specific formation of rocks, these beautiful green gems will glow and really come into their own, much like the red Neocaridina do on almost anything else. Hey, speaking of purpose-built tanks and really shining in your environment, the last shrimp that we get to talk about are the snowball shrimp. The last shrimp that I added to my collection before taking a break from my first rapid growth phase were the aptly named snowball cherry shrimp. The snowballs are just another color variety of the Neocaridina, so they need all of the same water parameters and care. They breed the same and act the same, but they look completely different because they are mostly clear with a slight opacity so that you can see their features and organs much more clearly. You can see the females and males quickly and distinguish them without a lot of guesswork, and that makes pairing them up to start your community very easy. Or you could do just what I did and grab a baker's dozen, which, even if random, should have a chance of giving you a few females. Their eggs are completely white. They start white and they end their development a little bit bigger, but still white. You can clearly see the dot that forms on the eye of the shrimplet, and the shrimplets don't hatch transparent. They are somewhat opaque like their parents. When I say the snowballs were added to a purpose-built environment, I wasn't lying. I created the mountain specifically to add lighter colored shrimp, so that they could really pop against the dark background, dark rock, and the dark substrate. And this worked amazingly well. The snowball shrimp have really made the mountains their home. Their population is slowly growing, and I have seen individuals grow from tiny little sand-sized shrimplets to sprightly juveniles, all within a few months. The snowball shrimp have 1 or 2 members in their community with an off-white color. One is pink and the other is tan, and both are females. It will be interesting to see if I notice any offspring from either of those 2 shrimp, but as it stands, I'm not breeding, and I'm also not seeing the kind of numbers one would expect from having this many egg-bearing females in one tank. That wraps up my shrimp collection as it currently stands. I have plans to expand soon with a tank earmarked for vampire shrimp, and I'd like to get something a little more difficult to take care of because I am a glutton for punishment. I have overall enjoyed all of my shrimp, and I cherish their presence in the shoal. Over time, I would like to get every community in their own purpose-built tank that accentuates their features and highlights their individuality. For today, we are done, and it's time to turn off the lights on one of my longer videos to date. Before we meet next, I hope that you have some sweet shrimpy dreams as always, and this time, I hope you get to dream of tiny little shrimp babies. Little floating pieces of sand, fluttering grains of rice. Blissful shrimp floating from leaf to forest floor and finally to the top of towering mountains. Thank you for joining us. Sleep well.